The goal for special education is always to try to place students in the least restrictive environment, the environment where their goals and objectives for their IEPs can be met.
We look at the IEP. We decide what classes, where the need areas are. Are they in English? Are they in reading, math? And then the child is scheduled into a class. I mean, it's an on-grade level class, but there's the special educators in the class with the general educators. What else did you learn? There's a lot of new words on here. The supports are there from day one of the school year.
Yeah, inclusion is not new to Montgomery County. For example, at Rocky Hill, we opened with the philosophy of an inclusive environment being best for kids. There are some kids that you need to make sure you have the staffing to offer a continuum of services for. And if you can offer that continuum of services, I just think the neighborhood school is the place to be.
Keeping the children in what would be the same world they're going to walk in only makes sense. But we do need to keep in mind that sometimes they need to do it differently. They need to do it maybe with a little more time involved. But I think they really get their needs met in this environment.
Obtuse or acute? What do you think?
It looks like it's acute.
Acute. And what does acute mean?
Below 90.
Below 90.
We have an enormous amount of our special needs kids on the honor roll, getting straight A's, being very successful in our art classes, our PE classes, all their courses. They're involved, they're engaged, they're excited about learning.
Students should have all the benefits of being exposed to the highest quality curriculum possible, and we feel like the best way to do that here is to have the special education teachers working alongside with general education teachers who specialize in that curriculum area.
Work to help their families.
I can jump, 1, 2, 3. I can jump, look at me.
I teach 3 to 5-year-olds with IEPs and without IEPs. What we do is we have a pre-K curriculum. We teach pre-literacy and pre-math skills to our students, as well as work on social language needs, things like sharing and play skills. The children with IEPs are being able to see a peer model, and the children without IEPs are building their self-confidence, and they feel like they can help these other children. And sometimes it's vice versa.
Let's do it again. February. Nice job.
My son is 4, and he's in the pre-K speech and language program. Joshua gets to interact with other children that don't have speech and language issues, and he can kind of model their behavior and kind of model their speech and potentially incorporate those things into his speech. I think it also, more importantly, is the social interaction. I think that's the huge part, and that really sets him up for the rest of his life.
Initially, as a parent, I was concerned about the inclusion, the inclusive program, because I thought it would be too challenging for Joshua. But to our surprise, and what a wonderful surprise, it was not too challenging. It was challenging enough, but not too challenging. He was like, I want to do this. I want to learn more. I want to go further. He was so excited to be with the other children, who they say typically developing children. He was so excited to be with them. He wanted to communicate more with them. He used them as his models. So to come into a setting where everyone is so warm and giving and so optimistic about your child's future, it's overwhelming.
Because it really helps a lot, and I don't have to stay in from recess.
Oh, okay.
Justin has a diagnosis of high-functioning autism and also has a diagnosis of Cri-du-Chat, which is a rare genetic disorder. The accommodations he's getting to help him succeed in the inclusive setting they set him away from distractions. He uses visual supports and checklists to help with organization. They give him extended time for completing assignments, both in class and homework.
I mean the main word that's in the word.
Okay, so there's
provide peer support to help keep him on task. They include him just like the other children in the classroom, and it's always been very positive for him, and he enjoys that.
That you get to meet lots of friends and do lots of fun stuff, so it's really cool.
Justin's a friend of mine because we love to play together and we do a lot of fun games together and we go to each other's houses a lot. Actually, it's a lot of fun to be with Justin because he really understands what I'm trying to get him, and he's really nice, and he does different work that helps both of us understand what we're trying to learn.
Is -20 and 20 is 5. If you didn't have it, you may check with a partner who did check.
My co-teacher, his emphasis is in special education. So as far as all the special needs that the students have, their IEPs, he helps write a lot of those. He's their case manager for them. So he really helps, especially with lesson planning, to make sure that we're reaching all the students. My background's more in mathematics, so I bring, I'm trying to push them forward, and I'm making sure that we're moving forward, and he's making sure we're staying back, keeping everybody on track. So it's a really good balance that we have going.
Yeah, and the 5. So bring that whole piece down.
I bring a lot of different learning strategies to the table. A lot of best practices for special education students tend to be best practices for all students.
Really put an effort into not letting the kids know who's the general educator and who's the special educator. We'll switch back and forth. Some days I'll teach a lesson and he'll support, some days he'll teach a lesson, I'll support, and we'll switch in the middle of a lesson if the topic's necessary. There's a few different models we've used. There are some occasions where we'll split them up into 2 groups, but even when we split them up, we pretty much just do a random split.
What's the next step? When we summarize,
co-teaching definitely helps me to be a better teacher, because you always have room to analyze your teaching or do the self-reflection, and then there's always someone around you can ask, how did that go, or could we have done that better?
My daughter's name is Megan Jones, and she was born with Down syndrome. She strives to be like her peers, and her goals are set very, very high. We always knew that we wanted her to go to her home school. We didn't want her to go to another school where she would not know anybody and not be part of her community.
She's fully included in her classes, but what that means is that she's doing work on the level with her peers, but it's adjusted, it's modified so that it meets her special needs.
Well, in English class, we are finishing up Othello and going into another book.
Where should I lodge the handkerchief, Amelia? I know not, madam. Believe me, I had rather have lost my purse with you.
We just did a unit test today. I think I did good. Well, I love school because I think it's a great opportunity for me to learn and about my fusion stuff.
Success for her is going to be living in the real world.
My son is here, he's a 7th grader and he has an IEP. Some classes he needs more support than in other classes, and in those classes he gets the extra support. There's a lot of grouping of students, he works within groups, and in some classes he's one of the leaders in the group.
See, before we had 20 over here, and that's where our mistake came from.
I think any parent would be concerned about the inclusive environment because they might feel like their child isn't going to get as much one-on-one time with the special educator, which I haven't found that to be the case. He actually, I think, gets more assistance in the inclusion program than he ever did in elementary school.
I think you just have to come in and visit classrooms sometimes to see that it really does work and that kids are able to socialize and have their needs, academic and social needs, met in the environment that we've created.
Just the fact that the students are in the on-level classes with their peers, and to me that does something for the students so that they can see that they're not pulled away, they're not separated from what they think is the normal or the regular group. And also by having 2 teachers in the room, the co-teaching, you can really differentiate to the needs of the students in the classroom.
I think with appropriate supports, many kids who are in other settings may be able to be successful in the regular environment.
I can't imagine as a parent, middle school or high school, any child having to be in anything but an inclusion program. And I, as a parent of the county, would expect them to provide that for my child.